Hello, and welcome to today's podcast on effective English learning habits for beginners. I'm Emma, and I'm here with my co-host, Max. We're so excited to dive into some essential tips and strategies to help you learn English effectively.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about some simple yet powerful habits that can make a huge difference in your English learning journey. Whether you're a beginner or somewhere in the middle, building good habits can be the key to your success.
That's right, Max. Learning a new language isn't just about memorizing words or studying grammar rules. It's also about creating a routine that works for you. So let's start with our first topic, setting goals. Why do you think goals are so important, Max?
Great question, Emma. Setting goals gives us direction. It's like having a map. It helps us know where we're going. When we set clear, small goals, it's easier to stay focused and not feel overwhelmed. For example, a simple goal could be to learn 5 new words each day.
Yes, and it's important to make those goals realistic. If we start with small steps, like learning 5 words a day or practicing for 10 minutes each morning, it feels manageable. And soon enough, these small actions add up to big improvements.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about another great habit, consistency. Consistency means doing something regularly. If we want to get better at English, we need to practice often. It's much more effective to practice a little every day than to try studying for hours once a week.
Right, Max. Even just a few minutes each day can make a big difference. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You do it every day, and over time, it keeps your teeth healthy. Language learning is similar. Regular practice keeps your skills sharp and helps you remember things better.
And here's a tip for being consistent. Try linking your English practice to something you already do daily. For example, if you have a morning coffee or a quick walk, that's a great time to listen to an English podcast or go over your vocabulary words.
Yes, that's a great idea. Building a habit is often easier when it's connected to something we already enjoy. Now, let's move on to making mistakes and learning from them. Many people worry about making mistakes when they're learning a language, but mistakes are actually a great tool for learning.
So true, Emma. Making mistakes is part of the learning process. When we make a mistake, it shows us what we need to work on. So don't be afraid to try. Even if you make mistakes, it's all helping you improve.
Exactly. Think of mistakes as opportunities. If you say something wrong, you can learn the correct way and remember it better next time. And don't forget, native speakers make mistakes too. It's totally normal.
I think that's so important to remember. Everyone makes mistakes, even the best learners. And you know, Emma, something that really helps me is keeping a notebook. Writing down new words or phrases can be a great way to remember things.
Oh, definitely. Keeping a small notebook or using an app on your phone can help you collect words and phrases. And then, when you have a few minutes, you can review them. It's like building your own personal English dictionary.
Great point, Emma, and when we take the time to review our notes, we're also reinforcing our learning. It helps us remember better and shows us how much we've learned over time.
Yes, that's so true. Reviewing your notes doesn't have to be boring. You can make it fun by using colors, drawing little pictures, or creating example sentences with your new words. It keeps things interesting.
And don't forget, reward yourself. Learning can be challenging, so it's good to celebrate your progress. When you reach a small goal, like learning a new phrase or understanding a short conversation, give yourself a small reward. It can be something simple, like listening to your favorite song or having a treat.
Absolutely, rewards can really motivate us to keep going. So, to wrap up this first part, we've covered 3 powerful habits for learning English: setting small goals, being consistent, and embracing mistakes as part of the process.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for staying with us. In our last section, we talked about setting small goals, staying consistent, and learning from mistakes. Now, let's dive into another important topic, building confidence. Confidence is essential when learning English, don't you think, Emma?
Oh, absolutely, Max. Without confidence, it's hard to use what you're learning. You might know a lot, but if you're too shy or worried about speaking, it can hold you back. So, building confidence is a big part of feeling comfortable using English in real life.
Exactly, and one way to build confidence is to start with simple conversations. You don't have to jump into long talks or complicated sentences. Just focus on small, everyday conversations. For example, try saying hello to someone in English or asking a simple question.
Yes, that's a great start. You know, another tip is practicing with people you feel comfortable with. If you have a friend or family member who's also learning English or knows some English, it's a perfect way to practice. Even if it's just saying a few sentences, every bit of practice helps.
That's right, Emma, and if you don't have anyone to practice with, don't worry. You can practice speaking to yourself. It might feel a little funny at first, but talking to yourself in English is actually a great way to practice forming sentences and speaking without pressure.
I love that tip, Max. Practicing out loud, even if you're alone, helps you get used to the sound of your voice in English. You can describe what you're doing, like I'm making coffee or I'm reading a book. Little by little, it starts to feel more natural.
And let's not forget the power of listening. Listening is a fantastic way to boost your confidence. When you hear people speaking English, you learn how sentences are put together, how words are pronounced, and the flow of the language. And remember, you don't need to understand every word to benefit from listening.
Yes, listening is so important. A great way to get more comfortable with English is to listen to podcasts, watch movies, or listen to English music. Try to pick something interesting or fun for you. If you enjoy it, it won't feel like studying.
Definitely, and to build confidence, don't be afraid to mimic or copy what you hear. If you hear a phrase or sentence, try repeating it out loud. It helps you practice pronunciation and makes you feel more confident saying it yourself.
That's a great point. Repeating what you hear really helps with pronunciation. And you know, we've all been there. Sometimes we worry about sounding silly or not getting it perfect, but it's all part of learning. Now, let's move on to another big area of learning English: expanding vocabulary. Max, why do you think vocabulary is so important?
Vocabulary is key because words are the building blocks of any language. The more words you know, the more you can understand and express yourself. And expanding vocabulary doesn't mean you have to memorize 100 words at once. Start small and learn a few words each day.
Absolutely. Learning new words in small amounts makes it easier to remember them. And remember, it's not just about knowing the word. It's also helpful to learn it in context. For example, instead of just learning the word eat, you can learn eat breakfast or eat lunch.
Good point, Emma. Learning words with phrases or sentences helps us remember them better because we can picture the meaning. It's easier to remember I eat breakfast than just eat. And speaking of remembering, try to use the new words you learn as much as possible. The more you use a word, the more likely it is to stay in your memory.
That's true. And don't be afraid to use new words, even if you're not sure you're saying them perfectly. Every time you use a word, you're helping yourself get better. Another way to remember words is to make them personal. For example, if you learn the word travel, you could think about a place you want to go or talk about a trip you enjoyed.
Yes, connecting words to your own life can make them easier to remember. And let's talk about another fun way to learn vocabulary: flashcards. Flashcards are an easy tool to keep track of new words and test yourself.
Flashcards are so helpful. You can make them on paper, or you can use apps on your phone. On each card, write the word on one side and its meaning, or a picture on the other. You can also write a sentence using the word to help you understand it better.
Exactly, and flashcards are great because you can use them anytime, on the bus, during a break, or just whenever you have a few free minutes. Reviewing flashcards regularly helps keep those new words fresh in your mind.
And for people who enjoy reading, try to find simple English books or articles that interest you. Reading is a great way to pick up new words naturally. Even if you only understand part of the text, you'll still come across new words and phrases in a natural context.
Yes, reading is fantastic, and if a book feels too difficult, try reading children's books or short articles first. They're often easier to understand and still very helpful for learning new vocabulary and phrases. Plus, you get a sense of how sentences are put together.
That's such a good tip, Max. Reading also introduces us to different types of English. You see how people write or how they describe things, and it expands your view of the language. Now, one final tip on vocabulary: label things around you.
Oh, that's a fun one. Labeling is a great visual reminder. If you're learning English words for things at home, like window or table, just put a small label on those items. Each time you see it, you'll get a reminder of the word in English.
Exactly. It's like having a mini English class all around you. And as you get comfortable, you can add more words and start describing things. For example, instead of just table, you might add brown table or small table. It builds on what you already know.
That's a great way to keep growing your vocabulary naturally. To recap this part, we talked about building confidence through simple conversations and listening. Then we explored ways to expand vocabulary, from using flashcards and reading to labeling items and making words personal.
Thanks for sticking with us, everyone. Now that we've talked about setting goals, building confidence, and expanding vocabulary, let's focus on two very important skills: speaking and listening. Both are crucial for anyone learning English, and they're also the areas that many learners find challenging.
That's so true, Emma. Many people worrying about speaking because they're afraid of making mistakes or not being understood. But the only way to improve is to speak as much as possible. Think of it as a skill you're building. The more you practice, the better you'll get.
Exactly, and remember, you don't have to be perfect to start speaking. Language is about communication, not perfection. Start small and practice saying simple things in English, even if it's just a few sentences each day. For example, you could talk about your day or describe what you're doing.
That's a great tip, Emma. Another idea is to join a language exchange group or find a conversation partner. A language exchange is when you practice English with someone and they might practice your native language with you. It's a great way to learn in a relaxed and supportive environment.
Yes, language exchange can be amazing. And if meeting in person isn't possible, there are online groups or apps that connect learners from all over the world. You can find someone who is learning your language, and you both benefit. Plus, it's a good way to learn about different cultures.
That's true. It's like learning two things at once. And if finding a partner feels tricky, you can always practice by recording yourself. Try recording a short story or describing something you see. Then listen to the recording and notice areas where you might want to improve. It can be a bit strange at first, but it really helps you hear your own progress.
Yes, listening to yourself can be super helpful. And when you hear yourself speaking, you might feel more comfortable the next time you talk to others. Speaking is only one part, though. Let's dive into listening practice, which is just as important.
Good idea. Emma, listening is often easier to practice on your own because there are so many ways to do it. You can listen to podcasts, watch videos, or even just tune into English songs. And the key to listening is not just hearing the words, but really focusing on understanding the meaning behind them.
Right, and don't worry if you don't understand everything. When you're starting out, focus on listening for keywords or phrases. For example, if you're listening to a conversation about food, you might catch words like lunch, eat, or delicious. Those words can help you understand the topic, even if you miss some details.
Great tip, and if you want to practice listening and improve your vocabulary, try watching videos with subtitles. Start with subtitles in your own language, then switch to English subtitles. Eventually, you might feel ready to watch without any subtitles at all. It's a gradual process, and each step helps.
Subtitles are a great learning tool. Another fun activity is to try listening to a short part of a video or song, then pause and write down what you heard. After that, you can check if you got it right by replaying the section or looking at the subtitles. It's a fun challenge and can really improve your listening skills.
Absolutely, and as you build your listening and speaking skills, one last area that's really helpful is creating a positive learning environment. This is all about making your learning experience enjoyable and motivating. When you enjoy what you're doing, you're more likely to stick with it.
I couldn't agree more. Max, a positive learning environment can be as simple as finding a quiet, comfortable place to study, setting a routine, or even adding small rewards for yourself when you reach a goal. The goal is to create a space that encourages you to keep going, even on days when learning feels tough.
Yes, rewards and routines are so helpful. And don't forget to celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Learning a language takes time, so if you understand a conversation or learn a new phrase, take a moment to recognize that achievement. It keeps you motivated.
That's such good advice, Max. And remember, it's okay to take breaks when you need them. If you feel tired or overwhelmed, give yourself a short break and come back when you feel ready. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint, so keeping a steady pace is important.
Definitely, taking care of yourself and being patient is part of the process. And one last tip for creating a positive environment: surround yourself with English. Put up English posters, listen to English radio, or even try changing your phone settings to English. Little changes like these help you stay connected to the language.
Yes, immersing yourself in English, even in small ways, helps make learning feel natural. And with that, let's quickly summarize what we've covered today. We started with setting goals, staying consistent, and learning from mistakes. Then we talked about building confidence, expanding vocabulary, and practicing speaking and listening. Finally, we covered how to create a positive learning environment to stay motivated and keep going.
Wow, we covered so much. Remember, learning English is a journey. Take it one step at a time and enjoy the process. Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you found these tips helpful.
Yes, thank you all for listening. Keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, every bit of effort counts. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to our channel and share it with your family and friends. We're excited to keep bringing you more tips and encouragement on your English learning journey.
Absolutely, Emma, and until next time, keep learning and keep growing. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. Happy learning.